Welcome to Freddie Runs Runners Connect podcast, where Freddie and Scott explore the world of running, fitness, and beyond. But before we dive into today's episode, a quick disclaimer. Whilst we love to share experiences and insights, we are not coaches nor nutritionists, so remember, nothing discussed here is intended as professional advice. Always consult with qualified experts for personalised guidance. Enjoy the podcast.
And we are live again. Right. Welcome back, everybody. Been a bit of a break in the usual schedule, but welcome back to episode 6 of the Freddie Runs podcast. It's been a while, but that's because we've been busy with certain things. Little thing called the Manchester Marathon. And
You didn't do that, did you?
I did.
Yeah.
It was just a little hobby I had on the side. I didn't
Come on,
mention it to anyone.
come on, let's get into it. I'm absolutely buzzing to talk about this because I know you were in there with a bit of trepidation and a bit worried about you had the injury beforehand and were you fit enough, blah, blah, blah. But you absolutely smashed it out of the park. Come on, what did you get? What happened on the day?
Yeah, so I got around with a very healthy 4 hours, 4 minutes. And I look back at our original conversation and I said I'd be there or thereabouts. I'd be close to 4 hours. And I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah.
It's the whole experience has made me want to do more, to be fair. And I've got another little thing I've signed up for called Enduro 24. But that's literally because I survived this and it's just really spurred me on to take something else on. So really enjoyed the experience. The pacing and everything worked a dream. I ran with my friend Matt and we had a plan to stick to around 5:30 per K, and we managed that. And around 19, 20 miles, unfortunately, Matt hit the wall, and I tried to keep him going and keep him motivated. And we had a little bit of a walk, and I said to him, "Look, let's give it one more push." We went again, and I think his legs were just weren't quite there. So he, with permission, he let me push on, and I went on and done the last 7 miles on my own.
You're saying actually that day then you probably had a sub 4 in you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What's I'm going to ask our guests when they come on shortly because I don't know the rule here. My Apple Watch, when I timed it, the GPS clocked me at 3:55, and that's what it's give me.
That's what you got.
But but the chip time, which is what everybody tells me you're supposed
Doesn't
to go,
matter.
is 4:04. So
not in my eyes. Not in my eyes. No.
So I'm putting it down as 4:04. I've got this framed by my wonderful children. They've put in there 4:04.
Brilliant.
I think I'm capable of going under 4 hours one day. But yeah, I loved it. I've lost a toenail. That's probably too much information for everybody. I've lost a toenail. I've got athlete's foot. But would I do it again? You bet you. Yeah, 100%.
Right. I think the question people are going to really have, though, is after the last podcast when your family were on there giving you a few messages, and your dad in particular, who basically said he's going to fatten your lip.
Yeah, my dad was a runner, and this has really put it in perspective what he was capable of in his prime. He did a 3:30 when he was running. Bear in mind, there was no such thing as carbon-plated shoes. There was no GPS watches giving you your splits, your regular splits. And he was carrying a bucket for charity when people still carried cash. So by the end of it, he had a bucket that was probably, 20 kilograms of change.
Wow.
And he did a 3:30. He did the London twice, and one of them, his PB was 3:31, I think. So it put into perspective how good a runner he actually was. So yeah, hats off to me dad if he watches this.
Fair play.
But yeah,
that's phenomenal. That's phenomenal.
Loved it.
Yeah, and you mentioned Enduro 24 there.
Yeah, so because of that, I messaged you and said there's a room for a small one on the campsite. I've entered this year's.
That's not what you said. Right, here's the truth to what you said. You texted me and said, "Are you sitting down?" So I'm like, right, I'm sitting down. And I sat down. 25 minutes it took you to reply again. I'm sat down for 25 minutes thinking, what's going on? What's happened? Yeah, that's going to be super cool now. There's a good group of us going to that now. And I think mostly solo as well. So we're all going to be doing that together. So that's going to be a right good weekend now. Yeah. It must be must be at least half a dozen or so of us going that are going to meet up, maybe more.
I've had a couple of guys on Strava messages as well. They're
Yeah.
in the Runners Connect group we've got on Strava, and they've said they're coming. Do we want to meet up? So I know we've got some thoughts about how we can make that happen on the Friday or the Saturday and meet
Yeah.
everyone that we know through Strava.
Yeah, that'd be good. And that's another bone to pick with our guests when they come on, because they're not members of our Strava group.
Yet.
Oh, yeah, and I can see their faces in the corner thinking, what's the Strava group? Yeah. Yeah, we'll get them on in a second, though. So how has it been getting back into the training, though? Was it a struggle?
I had a week off, and the day after, so I finished the marathon on the Sunday. The Monday was sore, but not too bad. But the Tuesday, first day back in work, was comical. I had to walk down a flight of stairs because the lift wasn't working in the office, and I had a queue behind me of people waiting to get down. And we share an office with other organisations, and you could see people that don't know me asking if I was all right. Did I want some first aid or anything? And my manager had to explain that I'd ran Manchester Marathon on the Sunday, and then they all were like, "Oh, fair enough, we'll wait."
Yeah,
So
yeah,
coming down the stairs, I looked like something out of the Thriller video. It was ridiculous. Yeah, completely. I've seen so many snips on Instagram of people complaining about the walking after a marathon, and I just laughed it off. But yeah, I can totally sympathise now. It was brutal.
Walking downstairs backwards and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And then got back at it because I ended Enduro 24. I got back at it a week later, very, very gently. Started again with like a couple of 5Ks and then rest. Back at it now. Like I did a couple of 10Ks last week and a long run Sunday. I did a 10K tonight, 10K. Where are we? Tuesday night. I'm going to do a long run tomorrow. I'm fine. Yeah, legs are back at it straight away. And I'm just building up time on my feet now for this stupid challenge we're doing next.
And that's all it is, isn't it? From here till June, it's just slow it right down and just do it for longer.
Yeah. That's exactly it.
Make it nice and easy.
Mm.
Excuse me. Great. I'm just going to quickly say, if anyone, well, this will go out before Sunday. Yeah, this will go out before Sunday. Anyone that's doing the Gateshead Half Marathon on Sunday, give us a wave if you see me there. And if you are running towards, well, if you're going to be targeting somewhere around the 2 hours 40, look for the fat guy with a big flag on his back, because I'll be pacing that this weekend. So if you are there, come and have a little jog along with me if you want to. I'm looking forward to that. It'll be the first time I've done a pacer as a pacer, and I'm a bit nervous about it, actually. It's kind of like, if I do a half marathon myself, doesn't matter how long it takes me. If it's quick, if it's slow, it doesn't matter. But now I've got potentially, could just be one person potentially, but I've got someone that might be relying on me to hit that target. I've never been held to that before. So that's going to be interesting. I'm so looking forward to that.
You'll smash it. You've had enough practice, and you that stuff like the lake run you were doing the other week around the lake for the Samaritans. You know your pace. You know yourself.
Yeah.
It's just
that was good fun. That was actually good fun. It was a 1.8 loop around a lake.
Yeah.
Did it 10 times. It was good fun. Right, I think it's time, mate. Right. We'll get our guests on, shall we?
Yeah.
Right, so I wrote this down earlier, and I've not read it since, so I'm going to have to read it. And if I stumble, it's
I read it, and it sounds like a best man speech. It's pretty good, to be fair.
So today's guests are a married couple. I think they're married. Are you married? Yeah, they're married. Today's guests are a married couple that not only like to run, they also like to share their running on YouTube. I consider them to be the king and queen of parkrun vlogging, where they seem to enjoy the challenge of looking for the ones with the biggest hills or the deepest muddy puddles. They also recently proved if Garmin has any idea about their current 5K abilities. Now, they actually had the Garmin predictor, and they proved whether or not that's accurate, and we'll get into that in a minute actually, and see what they thought of that. Where am I? I've lost my place now. We can join them for a little celebration if they have just surpassed the magical barrier of 1,000 YouTube subscribers, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And some of you will know them as Chris and Kaylee. To everyone else, they are those two runners. Let's get them on. Hello, guys. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having us.
No problem at all. How are you both doing? Good?
Yeah, really good. Yeah, quite an intro there. Thank you.
What was it just? I read it this afternoon. I feel like we're going to a wedding.
Well, do you know, we were talking about this before, and normally when we get guests on, we just go, and here's Steve Cummins. And there's been no build up to it, no explanation as to who Steve Cummins is. It's just, here's Steve Cummins. or here's Jamie Tardy. So no, we thought it'd be nice to tell a little story about. I know most people that watch this, to be fair, probably watch you already. I think we've probably got a similar demographic of watching our channels. But no, really, we wanted to get you guys on and have a chat about your background in running, what made you go into YouTube, and all that sort of stuff. So really, I guess the question is, have you both always been runners?
Should I start?
You go first. You go first.
Quite different stories, I think, the two of us. When I was, like everyone, doing cross country at school and doing that sort of stuff, and unfortunately I was quite good at it, so I had to keep doing cross country, which, if you've done cross country, it's one of them things that you hate every second of it, and then when you're finished you think, no, I think I enjoyed that, but you're not quite sure. And then you keep going back for more, which is a bit like a lot of running, isn't it, really? But I did really, I just kept doing quite well. So I think I got in the area cross-country team. And then 2 years I got in the county team. Had an England trial. We're running for North Yorkshire. Came second last in an epic sprint finish where the fastest sprint finish of the day was me and some other guy who's not going to come last in this race, one behind everyone else. So I just kept doing, I was doing quite a lot of running, but I was doing a lot of football when I was young, and football was my main passion, and running was something I did alongside it. And then once I got to university, I stopped running, just played football for 20 years or longer. And then I was only doing like a lot of people, just the odd 2-3 miler through the week to keep me a bit fitter for football or whatever. Yep. And then 2018, if you fast forward to that, I had a ACL rupture.
Ouch.
And I think a lot of people have had it now that I've had it. And if I mention it, a lot of people say, "Oh, I've had that." Or
I definitely haven't.
Yeah. So I had surgery on that. That was 12 months of rehab. Yeah. And then at that age, I think I was maybe 37 or something like that. I was thinking my football career's coming to an end now anyway. So then I thought I'll take up a bit of running to start that up again. One thing led to another, and it started off as a bit of a hobby, and then probably in the last year I've started taking it a bit more, or 2 years, a bit more seriously in terms of how much I'm running and stuff like that. But I'm still suffering on and off for the last, since I started running again in 2019 or whatever, with injuries. So I'm rarely fit for a long period of time, but I'm doing all right now.
Good.
I was going to ask you, Chris, on that. I think one of the videos you uploaded a couple of weeks back now, you had a track day and you had to pull out because you felt your calf was going.
That's right.
And I thought, that's you screwed for a couple of weeks at least. But then the next weekend you were back at it, smashing another park run. So I'm assuming you pulled up right at the right time.
Oh yeah, and like I say, I guess because I've had a few, I kind of know. I've learned now, stop or how bad it is. And I thought, it was my groin. It just pinged, and I thought, like, what have I done here? And I just stopped instantly. I found out afterwards there seems to be some common sort of rule in running where you don't do 100 metres when you go above 40 years old.
Right.
I'd obviously missed that briefing. Out for the 100, pinged my calf, had to stop, which I was a bit gutted about.
Yeah.
But like you say, I just rested it, and luckily 4 or 5 days later I was back running again for the first time. It was all right. So
good decision.
Probably stopped at the right time. Otherwise,
good decision. So Kaylee, you kind of shook your head a little bit when we said, "Have you always been a runner?"
Yeah, total opposite for me. So as a kid, like, I've got older brothers who were like played football, into football. My dad managed football teams, so I was always around that and like that, and a bit of a tomboy. But then I also like was really into like performing arts and singing. So a lot of my like kind of early years was like, I want to be a pop star. This is what I want to do. I want to be a singer.
We need evidence. I'm
not going to sing on the podcast. I'll send you a YouTube video afterwards.
Please do.
So yeah, so with running and me, it was very late on. I've always kind of liked fitness. Like I wasn't really. I mean, my dad's always been into sport, but my mum wasn't particularly interested. And I've always really kind of, I used to kick about with the lads at football at school and things like that. And I always liked a bit of gym work and that sort of thing. Never was really like massively into it, but just kind of did it, and that was that really. And then I met Chris, and when we were at uni, he was really into sport and that sort of thing. And then when we started seeing each other properly, he was always like, "Oh, do you want to come running with us? Do you want to come?" And I was like, "Nah, there's no way, not me,
Never in the world.
never in the world. It's not for me. Tried before, like, and to be fair, like because I wasn't really fit, I was." Like, what's the right word? Quite a rotund child. I was a bit chubby. And then as I got older and I was at uni and that, like you start thinking more about how you look and that sort of thing. And I just couldn't get away with running at all. I tried. And then the back end of my 20s, I really struggled with anxiety really bad.
Right.
Nothing that I needed like medication for or anything like that, but it was just kind of really out of the blue, like my parents separated in my adult life and things, and there was loads of things. And anyway, that's another story. But one day I just said, I'm gonna go for a run, and he was like, "What?" So I put the trainer on. He bought us a pair of like Asics Gel Nimbus, like 16s or something that I used to just like knock about, walk the dog in, that sort of thing. Put them on, and I was like, I'm just gonna run and see what I can do. And I couldn't even run a mile. Like I did like 0.8 of a mile or something and recorded it on my iPhone. And at the end I was like, oh, I'm gonna die.
3 times.
Yeah.
It was all downhill.
Yeah, it was all downhill. I can very well. And then I quickly like caught the bug. Then it started, it was like, can I get a 5k? Can I get a 10k? Just what used to go out and just run. And then it was like, oh, maybe I need a challenge. We'll enter a race. So we did Sunderland 10k together. Can't remember what year, maybe 2016 or something like that, maybe a bit earlier actually. And I think I did it in under an hour, like 57 minutes or something. Loved it. Yeah. And at the end he was like, "Oh, you were up there with some like women from clubs and stuff, like you're doing okay." And I was like, I didn't understand anything like that, so I was like, "Oh, okay, I must be all right." And then did it the year after, and then it was like, oh, maybe I want to try the Great North Run. So I did the Great North Run, loved it, trained really hard for it. I think my first one, Chris ran it with us, and I did it in like 2 hours 17 or something. And I was over the moon with it. Loved the experience. And then same really, like fast forward to 2019, I've been running quite a bit and decided I wanted to join a club and join Sunderland Strollers. And then the first session I did, I thought I was going to vomit my lungs up. I'm not going to lie, it absolutely killed us. I've realised what the difference was between club running and just plodding around the streets.
Yeah.
And then now, like, I think out of the two of us, I'm the bigger running addict. I just can't live without it. I'm not a rester. I run 6 days a week. I gym. I'm really involved in the club. I'm ladies captain at the club. Never did cross country at school. Love cross country. Absolutely love it in my adult life. So yeah, total opposites really.
And without going into any of the details, I don't want to know the details, but that anxiety side now, is that all but gone?
Yeah, it's running. I had some CBT as well, and then running kind of went alongside that. And now if I have a bad day, I've listened to a couple of podcasts, and I know you've said this as well, like if you have a bad day, there's nothing better than going for a run. Yeah. And I find I'm very rarely stressed, or it just keeps everything at bay, like, and I love it. And especially getting out trail running and stuff, anything in the woods and that, I think just clears your head so well. So yes, I'm a big advocate for it, for mental health, definitely.
And Scott, that's another example, mate, of someone that's championing being in a club.
Yes, I was just going to say, Kaylee's backstory there is pretty much word for word the journey I've been on the last 12 months, up until the point where you've joined the club. You just scared me there by barfing up your lungs, because I plod around the streets. That's all I do at the minute. But going back to your trail running as well, I watched your Flats Lane video. You weren't so keen. And Chris, I watched it this afternoon, and I watched it in here in my office. And I had to explain to my wife I genuinely was watching YouTube because all she could hear through the wall was a male voice panting for about 20 seconds. I was like, I promise you, I'm watching YouTube. But yeah, I can totally relate to all of that, Kaylee, and the mental health side of things for me as well. I didn't realize it existed until I started running, and it was just the highs. It was like a free cheat code to make yourself feel better. You know, that doesn't come out of a bottle of pills. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. And I got the bug very late. I'm 44 now, and I got the bug a year ago, and I've never looked back. Honestly, I absolutely love this.
Yeah, that's good.
So at what point then did you both start deciding to run together and then stick a camera in front of you and start vlogging? Like, how did that happen?
That was,
I'm not even sure.
I think I can remember. So, basically, park run is a good place to start. So, because my first job, I was a singing teacher, so I used to work. I was self-employed, so I used to teach Saturday mornings at a singing club. So I could never go to park run. And then after COVID, I was having a bit of a career change anyway, and COVID sort of decimated a lot of that. So I made a decision to call it a day on a Saturday morning, and we went along to park run. And for all we'd run for, I'd been running for like 10 years or 9 years or something at this point. I'd never done a park run, and it was like, wow, this happens every Saturday, and you can go all over, and it's free, and you just get to run as fast as you want or as slow as you want. And I really got into, we both did the community side of it straight away. So then we started looking for parkrun on YouTube so we could see what else was out there, because we were just going to Silksworth as our local one, and it's the one that our club are heavily involved in. So we go because we knew people. And then we found Jog On with Harry Morgan, YouTube. Watch one of his videos, and I was like, this guy is brilliant. And quickly became addicted to watching. And anyway, I bought a t-shirt from him and had a bit of back and forth with him, because it was like maybe a couple of years ago. And then we were doing park runs, starting to do bits of park runs, and we'd done a little bit. I think we'd done a little bit of filming. Like, I did a bit of YouTube before, but not running, like just kind of fashion-y type stuff.
The cringy stuff.
The cringy stuff, yeah.
You see a brave man, mine sat there.
I'll take it, it's fine. And then we went to a Jog On meetup, and met Harry at Woodhouse Moor in Leeds. And he was so lovely. We went for coffee with him afterwards. There's about 12 of us there. Because his channel's really grown in the last year, but he was probably on like 20,000 subscribers or something. Maybe not quite when we started watching him. Really had a great day. Everyone was lovely. The community was great. And we left to come away, and I was like, this community, maybe we should give this a go. So Chris bought a GoPro. He bought a GoPro on his birthday. And we went, our first video was dreadful. We went up Rosebery Topping and we filmed because we didn't even really know what we wanted to do. So it was just us hiking and having a bit of a laugh, really. And I think we've deleted it from the channel now, but I think it hit the grand heights of 113 views or something. Yep. And then I can't remember what we did next. We put up a little
Your PB video, wasn't it?
No, that was early on. Yeah, so we started just going around and filming and chatting and having a bit of fun with it. And then I did a PB attempt at Riverside in Durham, and it absolutely exploded. We thought we'd completed YouTube. It was mental. We were getting 100 views, and all of a sudden it was 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. And I remember I used to edit then on iMovie, and I remember editing, and I went, it's not really that good, but we'll put it out. We'll give it a go. And I'd voice overed it, which we've never done before. Talk to how I felt and at different times, and it just kind of went from there. And I think we got the addiction. Then it was we can do this. And there weren't all that many views afterwards. I'd just like to point that out. That was a rare moment. And then we just kept at it. We kept touring, and
it's a shame it came so early, because we thought this YouTube's easy. We're legends. We're we don't even need to try. We put the next 4 out, and we're oh.
Yeah, I didn't realise that it was a fluke.
Yeah. It's true though, because you can. You mentioned, Chris, before we started the podcast, that you can get a video and put a lot of work into it, and you watch it from start to finish, and you'll be proud of that piece of work. And then you mentioned the analytics, and you realise, oh, it's number 10 in the list. It's not even, it's not doing well at all. And that's such a shame sometimes. And I'd love to know what that secret is to getting them to watch it, because the truth is, actually, if they watched it, they'd probably think the same thing, that it's one of your better videos. But it's trying to get them to do that. And I don't know the secret to that, and it's difficult, isn't it, to get through it, because they talk a lot about having the right thumbnail or talking the right title and all this, and what does that even look like?
Yeah,
It's
I think the secret formula is meant to be intrigue. It's like you see, you see a video that says, I ran a park run that had a hill in, or you see the same video that says, I died halfway up a hill at the park run and I had to get the ambulance. And everyone's like, what, you did what? And it's like trying to think how, because like you say, what people don't realise is, same with your podcast, no doubt, the amount of time that actually goes in behind the scenes to put that video out. I remember being at park run, doing the filming, someone was on the camera, like someone that was there, and they said to me, oh, will this be out? Park run was, 9 o'clock? They said, will this be out by 12? And I'm like,
on the 12th.
This looks like hours.
It does. It does, and it's probably a bit different for you, because you're a married couple. You're both on the channel. You're both involved with it. Like, I've got to say to my wife, "Oh, can I go and have a couple of hours to?" And she's like, "No, no." But it must be nice to be able to do that together. And who does do the editing? Do you both do that, or?
So we split it. So I do, I'll take the rough stuff and get it into a story. So I'll chop and kind of get the time down and work out where we're going to go with it. And then Chris jumps on and does the graphics and the things like that afterwards, and the music. Gotcha. So between us, we've got a good balance. So generally, if we're trying to get something out quick, I'll jump on it straight away. It takes longer when you know what it's like when you're trying to cut everything down. Could take me 2 hours, could take us 5 hours. It just depends on the video and what we've been working on. And then Chris normally tidies it up like Sunday and Monday, and then we put out Tuesday. But we try and film a few, so that if we've got a week where there's a lot on, because we both work full time, it's not our job. We kind of juggle it, so we've got one going out and then we're working on the next one. But obviously we've just got to that position. There was a lot of frantic kind of like, we need to get it out by Tuesday. But and sometimes life does get in the way. Like if we are busy, there has been weeks where we've gone, let's just not this week. Like, don't just rush something out that's rubbish. Like, let's just leave it and put something else out next week. But we've got quite a good routine going at the minute. We're just trying to get better with, like, if we race, getting the race out quickly, because I think if you race, the people who have raced want to see the race, but then 2 weeks later they're not interested, unless it's a huge race like Manchester Marathon or something like that, But like, if it's just a little local race or a club race, or local to your area, people want to see it straight away. And if someone else is doing it, then they've watched theirs, so they're not going to watch yours as well. So trying to get better.
Yeah, you got to try and ride that wave, haven't you, as everyone's watching those videos? Because I noticed that with Manchester, it was 1 point again. The Manchester Marathon. Yeah, I watched a lot of those Manchester Marathon videos, and you see, and there'll be some channels where they've got like 5 subscribers, and then the poor buggers. I feel bad for them in a way, because they'll have like 5 or 10 subscribers, and then 5,000 views on this Manchester Marathon video, and you just think, God, I wish they were getting paid for that. And getting something, but then they miss out on it. It's such a shame.
Scott, if you do Manchester again, which you probably will, are you going to replace that with a different number and a different time? Or are you going to keep? Is it going to get updated?
Well, my daughters have a little bit of a side hustle. They do a lot of crafting, and they made this for peanuts, to be fair.
Really good.
So I can get another one made. I've just said to Freddie there, because he rode that wave of Manchester Marathon videos, because I then got a text off him showing me that he'd entered Manchester Marathon for next year, or the ballot at least.
No, I've got a place. I bought a place. Yeah.
So,
excellent.
I'm going to probably knock out another couple of these and stick them up with more. It's addictive though, isn't it? Like I said at the beginning, like you, Kaylee, when you said you did 5K, then 10K, then a half. It's exactly what I've done. I had no intention of running a marathon. I finished the Great North Run in September last year, and I thought, I want to go further. Trained, done that 2 weeks ago, and now I want to go further. I don't know where it stops though, because pretty dangerous ultramarathon length, isn't it? Like, let's be honest, unless you're serious about your running career. I don't
Well,
know.
we haven't actually asked you about that, Scott. What your target is for Enduro 24?
7 hours. I'm kidding. Just to get round, I'm going to try and replicate yours last year. 50 miles.
52.
So
52.
53
Don't leave the
miles.
2
I'm
out.
going for 53. No, 50 miles. I'll be over the moon. And I'll take the full 24-hour time allocation we've got to do it as well. So yeah. I need to know when the limits stop, because what we're going to do after we do this, like where will we go next after this? You know, we'll be running in the Yukon Valley in Alaska, 300 miles.
Nice.
Yeah.
So one thing I love, guys, on your channel, and I genuinely mean, I've been watching you for months now. I love it when you do your little park run rating and give each thing a score. Whose idea was that? Is that something you've always done, or?
Probably mine, was it? But I hate to break it to you, Freddie, but that might have gone now.
Is it?
Yeah, it hasn't been on the last few.
Oh,
But Chris has now got a new kind of camera that does his heart rate and everything live.
I saw that.
It's very advanced.
We've gone for what we've learned now at the end of each park run, because unfortunately we've nearly completed the North East park run thing now. So we have to travel like 2 hours to get to a park run we haven't been to. So my thinking was, if we keep going back to the same park runs and rating what we think of them, we're just going to keep giving them the same sort of difficulty and so what we were thinking is, let's do what we've learned today, because every time you do a run or whatever, you learn something different. But what we try, if you've seen our channel, it's trying to be light-hearted rather than serious. So the idea is, at the end, what have we learned? Now, it could be that the course is good, but it could be that, I shouldn't have worn them socks, or, it was a lot wet around. It could be anything. So that's why we switched, because we're starting to think ahead that, we're going to just keep going back and giving the same rating. Thing.
And I like that one you did. Was it crowns you had on your head?
Yeah. Do you know what was so funny about that? No one. I mean, it's Queen's in Glasgow, and I lost count of the amount of people that said to us, "So why are you wearing a crown?" It's like, it's Queen's. Like, I would have thought that'd have been glaringly obvious, but it really wasn't.
The funniest thing, Scott, about when we went to Queen's in Glasgow.
Go on.
We got to the park run. You'll see why I'm aiming this at you in a second. And the first person that came up to us, like 20 minutes before the park run started, was from Middlesbrough.
No.
And had driven up on the morning to get there for 9 o'clock and set off at like 3 or 4 in the morning. Yeah,
bloody hell.
So she, her local was Flats. So she hadn't seen our video, chatting to us about some other guy that had filmed it at Flats Lane, and we were like, we'd literally just put it out 2 weeks before, and it's one of our biggest videos because we'd been challenged by so many people to run flats that it was like, it did really well. She obviously hadn't seen it, and she was like, "Oh, I'm from Middlesbrough. Like, where are you from?" And and a YouTuber came to our park run the other week and filmed, and I was like, "Well, it wasn't us." But it was just really funny that it was the first person we met. But the crown thing was random though, wasn't it? Me and Rachel had said, because Rachel, who's in the video with us, is like my best friend, and she'd said, we'll do. I said, as a joke, I was like, let's get some tiaras when we go to crowns, because she's mad on parkrun as well, and we've been trying to do our alphabets. And she messages, and she'd ordered these inflatable crowns from eBay. We were in the travel lodge the night before, and we had rooms opposite, and we're running around in these crowns, and people were going down the corridor, and they must have been thinking, what on earth are those three doing?
I don't know if you've realised, but I just get told to wear these things.
On the subject,
what is this? This is not Chris at work. This guy.
Really.
On the subject of Rachel, I met her when I met you guys at Wynyard, and I went to do Wynyard last weekend, and I'm running along, and as I look up, so it's an out and back, and flying past me in a blur, I heard, "Hiya, Scott," and I turned around. It was Rachel. I messaged her when we got back. I wasn't being rude there. I just didn't realise it was you flying past it. Yeah, it was Rachel.
Yeah, she
her
said
running so strong.
Yeah, well, she's actually got a very minor injury at the minute,
Right.
which flared up after Wynyard. So she's been training. Chris and Rachel are training together for the Sunderland half, and she keeps getting like an issue with one of her metatarsals, the ligaments in her foot. So she's been told if she takes it easy for the next couple of weeks, she'll be okay for the half. But Rachel at Parkrun, you've got to put reins on her. She
was gunning it, honestly.
Yeah, she's rapid. She's a lot quicker than me.
There's a young lad you regularly get on as well, isn't there?
Yeah. So that's my nephew Johnny. That's my brother's youngest.
Gotcha.
And he's got quite a following, a fan base. The amount of people that see it was, "Oh, where's Johnny? When's Johnny coming back?" And I think the thing with Johnny is he's at that age where he's hilariously funny without even trying. Just because he's like,
accidentally.
He's not a teenager anymore. He's nearly 21, but
he's
got all the characteristics of he sleeps in. Turned up the one part when he didn't have a watch on. He didn't have his wristband. He's just hilarious.
I went to pick him up last week for Parkrun, and his dad was at the front door saying, "I don't know where he is." And he had to come in for 2 minutes. I came in, and then he came downstairs. He just woke up like a zombie, and he was ready in 2 minutes and out the door.
I think I know the answer to this question, but out of the two of you, who's the competitive one?
We're both competitive, I would say, but I would probably say me, but I don't know what you
I know I would have said me, but
we're both
competitive.
Right,
I think it's changed. I never used to be at all. I was not interested in being competitive, but I'm very competitive with myself, not so much with other people. So, but then maybe you're more competitive, I think, with other people. Like Chris likes to race and chase people down. Whereas
Chris likes to try and get in the top 10 of little segments. On
yeah.
I never do, but
yeah. Well, me, I'm more about I try and just to get better all the time. So that's why you see them horrible stories like I put on this morning where I'm sweating. Like I've just run an interval session in an hour before work, and then I get back at 10 to 9 and I've got to start work at 9 and I'm frantically showering and trying to make myself look presentable before I sit at my desk.
Well, speaking of getting better, I mentioned at the beginning about your Garmin predictor. I can't even talk. Your Garmin predictor with your 5K timings. I know that's a fairly recent video. Do you mind talking about that a little bit?
No, not at all. Do you want to go?
Yeah, it's my PB for 5K was like a year or two ago, 1930 or 40 or something like that. Well, my Garmin said on this predictor that I could run 17:30 or something like that, and it just always. The more I trained, it was like in the 17s, and I'm thinking, there's no way I can run in the 17s. Anyway, got a new watch in the last year, new Garmin, and all of a sudden it's got a prediction of similar to my PB. So I'm thinking, well, this is more accurate.
Yeah.
And so we had this idea of my Garmin said that on this video that I would run 3 or 4 seconds slower than my PB was its prediction. And I thought in my head myself that I was able to go 20, 30 seconds faster than my PB because I felt in shape. But then Kaylee's was telling her that she could beat her PB and she thought she couldn't. So the concept for the video is, well, how accurate are these Garmins? And I think you'll see the sort of self-belief bit that's on the title, because I think it's our self-belief versus Garmin's predictor, was about, I think I'm faster than what Garmin thinks I am, but can I deliver on the day, or is Garmin right? And to be fair to it, I mean, I don't know if I should spoiler this or if we should. Can we link to it?
To be continued.
We can absolutely link to it in the bottom.
Yeah.
I did deliver. I ran a PB significantly.
Yeah.
But the Garmin's still quite accurate, and yours was accurate as well. But some person, lady, I think she's called Vicky, in the comments of the video, said that her Garmin says she can run 17 or whatever, and she runs 19, like what I used to see.
Right.
So I don't know if it comes down to the model. I was asking her loads of questions. Well, do you wear it for bed? Do you have a heart rate monitor? I'm thinking, does it come down to, like, I have a heart rate monitor, so it knows what an accurate heart rate, so maybe knows what my effort is on runs. I wear my watch to bed, so it knows all my statistics. I'm thinking, is that why it's now accurate? Because I didn't have that with the old Garmin, but she said she had all of the same. She has heart rate monitor. She wears it for bed, and hers is still. So it seems to be quite random that some people's is accurate and mine is now. I don't know if it's watch model or.
I think the newer ones must have slightly better technology because, like you say, yours was so far out. I had a Garmin before, but mine was just a fitness one, so it wasn't really like run specific. It wasn't a forerunner, so now I've got a forerunner. It didn't have predictors on, but this one does. But mine is not wildly away from my PB, so I think they are definitely more accurate now.
Well, which watches are you wearing?
Is it 265?
Yeah, 265.
Yeah, you bought me mine for my birthday, and then you got one as well.
Yeah, that's what tends to happen. We get a good pair of running trainers or something. The other one then gets.
Yeah.
Turn up with partners, kitted out in the same kit, and it's like, oh, that's that married couple again wearing the same clothes.
It's funny because I have mine on all the time. And I'm the same. I sleep with mine and what have you. Mine's a little different. My 5K time, it says I'm a minute slower than I'm actually doing.
Yeah.
But then my other times, the marathon time, I haven't tried. It's telling me I can do a 2-hour marathon. I can't, but it's telling me I can. You know, a 2-hour half marathon, which would be nice to test that. But it seems to me like the faster one, it's got slightly. It thinks I'm slower than I am, and the longer stuff, it thinks I'm quicker than I am.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I think. It changes every day now. So I think there is elements of. You've done a hard session yesterday, so today it's going to be a bit slower. Then if you look at mine now, I think it's like, because someone asked me actually this week, now that you ran that 1850 foot, has your predictor now changed from 19 whatever to 80? And I'm like, no, it's actually still 19. It's gone to 1940 now. But I noticed when I had a few rest days, that's where the time started coming down on the predictor, as if to say, right, you're fresh.
Okay.
So I think it does adapt with, like, if you've done a long run the day before, it's going to be slower the next day, and if you've had a few days off, it's going to get faster. So I think it's trying to predict at this moment in time, this is what we think you can get, rather than this week or this month.
I find, like, if I do speed work or intervals, anything like where you're pushing onto anaerobic as well, like, it improves. I think it's definitely on what you've been doing, but then obviously if you do a lot of days, like my training status is like saying poor now, because I did a strength class last night and I did an interval session this morning, so now it's like you shouldn't be running at all. Put your feet up. But, the
one thing that's been good for me on Garmin, like when you're talking about it, is since I've got this new watch, is it does kind of give you an indication of when you're tired, when you shouldn't be running, when you're at injury risk. And I mentioned at the beginning, I've had a lot of injuries and stuff. And now in my head, when it's saying to me, oh, you shouldn't run today, or don't run fast, or, you need recovery now. In my head now, I'm like, right, I may not listen to it like perfectly in what it's suggesting, but I'll think in my mind, I need to lay off any long stuff or fast stuff until I'm. So it is helping me, I think, manage. When you're running quite well, you get quite excited about, I'm going to run this really fast park run, and then the next day, like, I've got a race that I can do, and then and you get really excited. I'm going to do this. And you end up sort of neglecting your body really, and leading to some sort of injury because you're doing too much intensity and things. So it's helping with that.
It's funny, the back end of last year, I think it was like October, I got COVID for the first time. I didn't have it up until then, but my watch was basically telling me before I realised I had COVID that I was getting sick. I could see the data that something's not right here. Then the next thing I know, I'm in bed with COVID. They're very clever bits of kit.
Yeah, definitely.
I've got another video that I'm planning where I don't know if I've never used it, but Garmin can can pace you to a time on a race, but you can program it on how aggressive you want to run the hills, and things like that, which I haven't used yet. But I'm thinking
Pace Pro.
Pace Pro, yeah.
Yeah.
Have you used it?
I have used it, yeah, and I found I liked it and didn't like it both at the same time, and I'll tell you why. I like that it. I know I'm going at the right pace, but mine was just saying, right, you're 5 seconds ahead or 5 seconds behind or whatever else it is. I also like to see my current pace and my heart rate, and I don't know if it's just I haven't set it up right, but when I'm using Pace Pro to see that information, I've got to flick between screens. That's the only thing. Otherwise, yeah, I did it with Parkrun to try and get a PB, and it really helped actually, because sometimes my effort, the way it feels, isn't actually the pace I'm running. If that makes any sense. But no, it's a big help. And I wanted to I meant to mention this last time, Scott, when we did a podcast a while ago about watches, because we were asked a question about it in the Strava group.
Yeah.
And we talked about it, and I really wanted to. I wish I'd have said it at the time. Anybody that's new to running and is looking to get into running, don't use the watch as a barrier to stop you running. It doesn't matter if you can't afford a Garmin or whatever else. You don't need one to go running. They're nice to have. They're really helpful. But please don't use that as a reason not to go.
Yeah.
Just go anyway.
You can do everything on your phone, to be fair. If you're starting out, Chris bought me a Nike watch when I first got into running. Before Apple Watches were even a thing, Nike used to have a watch where you used to upload the data from it to the Nike app. And obviously now you can just run with the Nike app, but then it was like, oh, we'll get you a watch. You don't have to take your phone. But I used to just run with my phone, just in a little arm strap thing when I first started.
Exactly.
I'll tell you one thing I believe, Freddie, right? There's a video on the channel and it tanked. No one watched it, but I thought it was all right. But it was going for my 10K PB blindfolded, right?
Right.
And obviously I wasn't blindfolded, because that wouldn't have gone well.
That might have took off.
That would have got some hits.
Would have got some views.
Yeah, well, there is a picture of me on the thumbnail blindfolded, but I think everyone's going, "What is this idiot doing?" But I took a buff, like a running buff, and I wrapped it around my watch, and it was at Town Moor. I can't remember the name of the race. Was it? Can you remember? I can't remember. But
it was the memorial, Heaton Memorial for Remembrance Weekend.
So it was a 10K, and it was flat, and I thought, I haven't run many 10Ks, not flat ones, but I've got this thing in my head where I think myself and other runners slow themselves down because of the watch. Now I can explain in a second. So I covered my watch up and went, right, I'm not going to look at it. I'm going to start it under the buff, and I'm going to run to feel, and I'm going to go for a PB, and then I'm going to see what happens when I cross the line. And I ran a PB, but while I was running, I was thinking in my mind, I'm not running fast enough for a PB. I need to try and speed up a little bit. I need to get myself going if I think I haven't got any chance of. Do you know what I mean? And I think what happens a lot is you look at your watch when you're running, and I mean when you're running well, and you'll look and go, oh, that's a bit quick. That's a bit quick.
Right. Yeah.
Slow down a little bit, because that pace for me is a little touch quick, and you slow yourself down on purpose, and you go, oh, that's more like what I can handle and what I can run. And I think a lot of people limit themselves by thinking, that the watch is telling me this, and that gets in your head and makes you sort of want to manage your pace more. Whereas when you don't know, actually you could have coped with keeping that pace going.
Yeah. Let the watch help you, but not take over.
Yeah.
No, I get that. I was going to ask you as well about you, because I don't mean this disrespectfully, Kaylee. You're both at different standards. Of running.
I'll take that.
Do you train together? Because we see your videos. You obviously run together quite regular, but do you train together?
So I follow them on Strava. I know the answer to this, but go on.
Not really.
We used to, didn't we?
Yeah. Chris, when I first started running, would come with us a lot. We do, if we're not training for anything, we do a lot of social running together. We quite enjoy just going out for a trot round and a chat somewhere. I will take ourselves off somewhere, and Chris will map a route and we'll just run round. But when we're training for things, no. And part of the reason is the pace. But I think although we both like running with other people, I think when we're training and taking stuff seriously, we both like to train alone as well.
Yeah.
I think we've got a good balance of like, because I normally just use club sessions, but the last sort of year I've started like, if I've got a goal race, I'm going to try and follow a plan as best as I can. The only issue with it is like we race a lot, and like I said before, like at my club I'm ladies captain, so I feel like there's a bit of a responsibility that if I'm going to encourage other people to club race, I should race too. So I don't have to, that's not in the rules, but I think it's that FOMO thing as well. Like I want to be there with my friends running relays and doing that sort of thing. So I find that like following a plan is difficult in that respect because I want to do everything and you can't. But we normally, if we're really going for stuff, we can't train together because I can't. So, Chris's easy pace would be like steady for me because they do 8:30s easy, which for me is like a bit slower than tempo pace. My tempo pace is about 8-minute miling. So yeah, we couldn't.
So when you get to like, November, December, January, when it's dark at 4 o'clock, because we live in the UK and it's miserable. How do you approach that as a female going out training by yourself?
Well, I don't let it stop us for a start. No. I'm just sensible about where I run. So again, if it's sociable, we'll just go together. I do a lot as well with clubs. So like I'll lead a little group. It's not like anything like session wise. We just do like a 5-mile route on a Monday night, and whoever turns up runs. And we generally tend to run the same route, but sometimes we'll mix it up. Now it's lighter nights, we'll go other places. So there's always options of people. I've got lots of friends from club. There's always options to run with. But if I run on my own, sometimes I get out before work because it's dark. But there's something less threatening about running in the dark on a morning than there is on a night, I think. And then on a night, just sensible with it. It's a shame because I love to trail run. And obviously trail running goes out the window as soon as the dark nights come.
It's funny, and that's part of the reason I've asked. I think I might have mentioned this before, but I remember last year I was running with a friend of mine, and we were down by the river, and there was a trail that I know off the river where we live. And I said to her, have you been down there? And she's like, no. Didn't think much of it. And I was like, you should get yourself down there sometime. She said, well, you'll have to come with me. And I didn't even think about it until she said it, because I'm sure all of us here would normally just run wherever we want to run and not think about it at all. And then when she said that to me, I was like, oh Christ, yeah. That's not something I've ever had to consider, and it's not right, but it is the truth. But also I've always wondered, and I don't think there's an answer to this, but I've always wondered, as male runners, what can we do to make that better? And I don't know if there is anything, but I don't know if anyone's got any thoughts.
Club, like we said, Sunderland Strollers, there's runs nearly every night with groups of similar paced people or easy runs. So like where me and Kaylee will meet 20-30 runners on a Sunday and we'll all run at the same pace. And so I think one element of it is a club doesn't always mean you have to be fast or
no.
Which is what people do think. And even when we sort of join Sunderland Strollers, you think, I'm joining a running club here. Like, am I going to be like left at the back with loads of, speed merchants running off thinking, well, who's this slow guy that's just joined? But if you take like what clubs really are, there's multiple packs of runners that are all of different abilities and speeds and things like that. So you just end up running with people that are similar pace to you, and then what that leads to is there's runs through the week. You can run, you meet people like Kaylee said, so there's lots of people that you can then just message privately and things. So I think for men it's, well, I'm scared some of them places, for it, to be honest. I wouldn't go down there, but I just rely on my speed to get away. But
one thing I would say is that I'd never really thought about until the last year is like, as women, like we're always frightened of the trails, but the roads can be just like the roads can be more dangerous, because if you're running in the trails with a headlamp on, the chances of you bumping into someone are very slim. But when you're running on a busy road or back roads or whatever, there's going to be cars passing and people all the time, and you'd think that's safer, but in reality, it could be the other way. So I think it's one of those things where as long as you're sensible, like I don't run in the dark with music in my ears. I rarely run with music anyway, to be honest. But if I do, I wouldn't do it in the dark. Like if I'm off-roading, I'll have a headlamp. Like it's just kind of like not going too far off the beaten track. Like I wouldn't rule out running trails, but I wouldn't run 10 mile in the middle of nowhere, like in case something happened, but more like if something happened to me, regardless of anyone else, like if I fell or hurt myself or whatever. Yeah. So I think for women, I think you've always got to be sensible. It's the world we live in. Like you said, rightly or wrongly, it is the world we live in. But I think as long as you're sensible, you can run whatever the season. And I think for me, I'm not great in the winter. So if I couldn't run, I'd be even worse. So running keeps that mental, like we talked about before, keeps it all at bay.
Well, I also want to say thank you for just ruining one of our questions we asked near the end.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
I'll ask it now, since we know the answer to yours. But music or no music?
I'm terribly sorry.
I'm joking. Chris, do you listen?
I was thinking about this when I was listening to your podcast. What would my answer be? And I probably listen to music once. I run 6 times a week, say, and maybe I've listened to music once in the last 4 months, something like that. Wow. Now, what you'll be delighted with, Freddie, is the long run I did on Sunday.
I know where this is going.
It was a slightly different, Scott. I know what you're thinking. But on Sunday, I did a 16-mile run, and I knew in my mind that was going to take. I was on my own, and I thought that's going to take me about 2 hours. So I took the headphones and I listened to your podcast.
Oh,
right.
Nice. And I'm much more, and I know from listening to that podcast, Scott's thinking I'm going to pick whose music I'm into, but
that's where I thought it was going.
Yeah, but and I probably, I'm more likely to listen to a podcast running.
Yeah.
But actually, like, part of me, and this is like maybe the sadistic part of me, quite likes to have nothing, but only your thoughts. For a couple
that was very dark.
Yeah. Only my thoughts. Not that my thoughts are particularly interesting. But I think it's good. Like, say you're out in the country, like I did a trail run, that Sunday long run, and I can actually appreciate. I had a podcast on, so maybe I didn't, but you can appreciate it more when you're not sort of concentrating on something. But also, I think for like race day, like Great North Run Day, I wouldn't have any headphones in, and I like to think that if I've endured these long runs with just me saying, "Are you really going to be able to run 13 miles this fast?" and all that, then I've sort of mentally prepared myself of how to deal with any like demon thoughts I get or about my running and stuff like that. So I kind of quite like not having music, but I'll listen to podcasts sometimes because it passes the time nicely and isn't too.
I think I'm similar in that. So I do listen to a lot of podcasts and music when I'm running, but I find if I've got a problem I need solving, like if I've had a busy week at work and I've got something at work that's bothering me, then I'll just leave that behind and just go run by myself. And that seems, because then I can think about it for a little while if I need to, solve the problem, and then just run and forget everything.
Yeah,
I think you can solve world peace and everything when you're out running.
I was going to say that. The amount of times I've thought I know how to fix a Middle East crisis, and then by the time I come home, I'm like, I forgot what I thought about, but it's a really good idea.
I don't know about you, but like sometimes I think you think if you're used to running without music on, you think and you're not even aware that you're thinking. You're like you are in your head, but you're not aware that you're in your head. Like, and you come back and like you say, like if you've had a crap day at work, you don't even think about it when you come home.
No.
But yeah, I'm a bit of a mix as well. Like podcasts, I do listen to a lot of podcasts when I run. But I'm really interested to know. I know what music you're into, Freddie, because I've listened to bits.
He's got a t-shirt on.
Scott, what sort of music do you like?
Bad music.
I'll really hear mine now, John.
Well, I like everything from the Beatles to Beethoven, but the stuff Freddie listens to is a bit too violent for me. I like stuff with a melody and tone, and
You might get like a 50-50. Although you like a mix, don't you? But I'm very eclectic like you. and Iron Maiden and stuff would be a bit heavy for me.
Iron Maiden's not heavy.
Well, and that's sort of, so there you go. It shows that my knowledge is so small of this sort of
I guarantee you there's some kind of skull on that t-shirt if you stand up. There you go.
There is.
That's
I
not
do.
right.
Don't get us wrong. Like I do like. I think I said to Freddie, like we're both into like indie because we were at uni when indie was amazing, like Arctic Monkeys, Killers, all that sort of stuff, and I'm really into my music. But because I sang and I grew up in an era of like girl bands and boy bands, I like a good sing song as well. But we also really like Rag and Bone Man and like James Bay and all those sort of like they're the people we'd go and see. Probably more, but we've seen everyone. Like we used to go to gigs loads when we were at uni. But yeah, I'm kind of I like a bit of everything. If it's a good tune, it's a good tune. But I do like we do like some heavy stuff. I mean, you quite like we're both like Linkin Park and that sort of thing. Like and
we live in quite a musical house. So I play the drums. I have since I was 15. My son he studies music at college in Newcastle. So and we're both into the same heavy stuff. He's actually into heavier stuff than I am. My wife hates it. She's a proper R&B girl, you know, all dancey and all that sort of stuff, and she hates living with us.
we have quite similar tastes. Chris, the only thing I will say is Chris is really into the ratings, and I don't know whether you know the ratings, but they're a modern day Arctic Monkeys, but they've got a few good tunes, but to me, like, I love Arctic Monkeys, so I get in the car and I'm like, oh, they're just like, they're trying to be Arctic Monkeys and then they sound more like Arctic Monkeys than Arctic Monkeys do now, and it's like, just try hard and all this stuff. He has a playlist where we listen, we'll get the same songs, so I feel like every time we're in the car, we get the same rating songs, and I'm like, not this again.
No.
I refuse to let go.
We never agree.
I refuse to let go of the 90s. I'm going to see Liam Gallagher. He's doing the Definitely Maybe 30th anniversary tour.
Yeah, Johnny's going to that actually.
I'm going to see him in Manchester, and then I've got a ticket for the week later in London. And my sister lives in central London, so we're going together to that one. But I'm seeing him in Manchester at the end of June, I think.
It's the day before Enduro 24.
Before Enduro 24. So that's going to be nice, isn't it? Yeah. I haven't quite worked out logistics yet, but yeah. On the subject of that, go on.
Sorry. I was just going to say, I went to see The Enemy. I love The Enemy. And I went to see The Enemy with my brother and my other nephew and my niece before a cross-country race. And I was like, I'm coming, but I'm literally drinking water. Honestly, the next day I absolutely killed us. I was absolutely shattered. I was like, why did I go to a gig the night before a cross-country race? What was I thinking? But so good luck with that stuff.
I'm thinking, Manchester, and then get my cousin to drop me in Leeds on the way back to Teesside, and I'm going to meet up with Freddie and do Enduro 24. But on the subject of Enduro 24, everyone we talk to about it seems to be doing it or know someone that's doing it. Has it ever crossed your minds, and can we sign you up?
Is this 24 hours of running, is it?
Yeah. It's the one we're doing, there's two versions. There's one in Reading and there's one in Leeds. We'll do the one in Leeds. It's Bramham Park, and they've essentially got an 8-kilometre loop, or 5 miles, whichever you use, as many times as you want in 24 hours.
So it's a bit like a backyard ultra type thing.
Kind of, yeah. But you just, once they press go, you don't stop until whenever.
And it looks like Glastonbury for runners. I've looked at videos of it, and
it is. And it's really good fun. I did it last year, and that's exactly how they pitch it. Is the Glastonbury for the running thing, and it really is like that. What I really liked on the Friday, because it starts on the Saturday lunchtime, but most people go down on the Friday, get your campsite set up and all this, and you can enter it as a solo, as a pair, or as a team. And there's a lot of teams and a lot of people who do it as teams. So a lot of those people that are doing teams, they actually might do 1, 2, 3 laps throughout the whole weekend. So not too far. So that means those ones on the Friday, they have a massive beer tent with a DJ, and they just get absolutely shit-faced the night before. And you're stood there as a solo thinking, you're lucky shit. So really, really good fun weekend. It's the most fun I've had at a running event by a long shot. So we appreciate, for most people it's difficult to say I'll do that this year, but we're looking for people to come next year, so bear it in mind.
Would you like a podcast exclusive?
Oh wow.
Oh.
I've signed up for my first ultra.
Oh, nice.
She hasn't done a marathon before, really.
I haven't done a marathon before either. Signed up for an ultra.
Get in.
So I won't be doing it in June. But don't rule us out for next year, because if I like it, I might come along. But
I love it.
but no, I absolutely am obsessed with Sally McRae. I don't know whether you know, she's an American ultra runner, and she does amazing YouTube, and she's done these like 100-mile and 200-mile races, and she's literally like, she's like my idol. I love her because she does so much on like mindset and how you can apply like the ultra running mindset to real life. And if you haven't checked her out, honestly, I've read her book and she's just amazing. She's been through so much adversity in her life, and she's like one of the strongest people ever. And I've been watching her for a long time, and then I read her book and I was like, you know, like I don't really, I'd like to run London Marathon, but a marathon doesn't really excite us. And I feel like every year I kind of try and break my 5k PB, 10k PB half. And I was like, I really want a challenge, but it's the navigation that's always terrified us, because I'm not very good. Like, if we run together and use GPX file, like Chris has it on his watch, and he'll like say, "Oh, we'll go, he'll clip us right." So I wanted the challenge of like doing something completely out of my comfort zone. So I've chosen Wild Deer have just launched their ultra. I think it's called something like the Kingdom of Northumberland, and you run from Bamborough to Druridge Bay, and it's 33 miles.
Nice.
And you set off at 7:30 in the morning, and I think you've basically got like till it gets dark, but they've said take a headlamp if you think you're going to be longer than that. So my plan is to get the Great North Run out the way this year, and then I'm going to start training for this ultra across the winter.
Nice.
And just trying to do time on feet, because that's obviously so different from road running. But yeah, so you might, you know, if I love it, you might get me next year. I don't know whether you'll get Chris, but you do like trail running, but I don't know.
Yeah, I would like, I've not done a marathon before.
Right.
But as I said, because I've been back into running for 4 or 5 years, I've said I keep getting injuries. The injuries come when I start doing the half marathon training. And I think the reason for that is I do a lot of 5k, 10k stuff, and then I think, oh, Great North Run's coming in September, I better start doing some training for that like a couple of months before. And I think I've always jumped my mileage up too quickly in my training, that's then ended in an Achilles or a calf or something. And the injuries I've had are like long-term sort of injuries, not niggles. So then I'm out for like 3 to 6 months and stuff. And then I come back and start again and get my fitness back. And then I go, oh, Great North Run again. And then so my goal with the longest stuff is just to be able to get through some halves and have the confidence that I could train for a marathon without overdoing it with my body and stuff. And so I wouldn't rule it out, but I'd like to get my body in a position where I'm confident that I can do the extra training without getting injured, basically.
Well, I genuinely, and I've said this to Scott a few times, I genuinely believe that an ultra is easier to train for than a 5k, you know, because you are slowing it right down, and it doesn't matter how long it takes you. You can eat when you need to eat, change your socks, change your shoes, whatever you need to do, and take that time. Now, I'm guessing for someone like you, Chris, that might be a challenge, because you might want to be the guy. No, I don't want to go that slow.
Yeah,
you know, and run away with it.
I think it would be a challenge, because one of the things is it's completely unknown what I could do in an ultra or a marathon, because I've never attempted anything like that. So like you say, in my head I might be like, I think I can run this fast, and then I completely die at halfway. Or it could be I run too, so it's completely unknown what I would.
Are there marathon plans for you?
Not for me at the moment. I think, like I say, I think got the Great North Run. I think I don't know. Basically the way it works is Kaylee sort of puts herself in a race or does something like that, and then I end up going, well, you'll have to put me in now, because what am I going to do in the house on my own while you're running that? So Kaylee just enters me in everything, and then it's a bit like a PA situation where I say, what are we racing at the weekend? And she'll go, we're going here. And I go, all right.
Bring the car round, I'm ready.
Yeah, you got my safety pins. It's like that.
Yeah, Chris does the driving, and I just tell him where he needs to go.
So I said, I've had some terrible Great North Run experiences recently, and I don't think I've ever ran it well or like properly enjoyed it for different reasons. And every year I'm like, I can't do that again. And it's the greatest race you could possibly do. But I think I heard on your other podcast, that's probably one of the only places I've ever hit the wall to the point of what they talk about hitting the wall, where I nearly started crying. Like at probably 7 miles, I nearly had a breakdown. It was like,
it's a long way to go as well.
I went from I can't remember what I was doing at that time, 7:30 a mile, and then when I got to mile 7, hit the wall, I was like, I can't finish now, and I wanted to cry.
Were you videoing were you doing videos at this point?
This was before the videos, and I was thinking, like, I like literally having a breakdown here because I'd gone too fast, and it all caught up with me dawned on me at mile 6. I'm not going to make it to the end. Like, I'm done.
Right.
And I've got 7 miles left or whatever. And then that panic set in, how am I going to get through 7 more miles? And then I ended up doing going from 7:30s to I think 9:30s, like straight away. Just like, I just need, because I think when I feel like I can't run anymore or I can't run that fast, I always run, but I just run as slow as I need to run. I've never walked in a race before, but I might have ran just a little bit faster than walking pace just to keep myself going. And I think I did recover after 3 or 4 miles of running slow to pick it up a little bit at the end. But it was such torture that I was like, I'm never. And then I came back the next year, which I think was last year with the heat. I don't know if anyone did it in that heat.
I did it,
And it was like, I just can't cope in heat. So after 2 miles, I knew, right, this is done for going for a PB. And I was just in survival mode on that run. And then Kaylee goes, I've signed myself up for that 5-year deal or whatever, where you get guaranteed into. Right, and I'm like, well, what am I going to do? I might go on the ballot, not get in. I'm going to have to watch every year. So, I've gone from 2 of the worst experiences of my life to having a 5-year membership.
You might. Go on. I was
going to say that's an important conversation to have as well, isn't it? Because, especially with having a YouTube channel, not every run or every run on YouTube, can appear to be a good one if you want it to be. Yeah. But it's important as well that we tell people that they're not all like that. I when I did Endure 24, it was similar to what you just said there. I got to, I think it was 1-2 o'clock in the morning, and I had a full-on breakdown. And I put some of it on camera. I didn't put it all on camera, but I put some of it on camera, and I edited it afterwards. And I went to my wife. I'm like, I can't put this out. And she's like, what do you mean? I said, just watch it for me, because I watched it back and thought, you dickhead, stop crying. You're on camera. Stop being that guy. But actually, she watched it and was like, no, that's an important story to tell, because it can't all be, this is easy.
You've got to, because it's real.
Yeah.
I think for all it's all fun and games on our channel, we do try, and I've cried on the channel multiple times. I did London Landmarks, and Chris came and spectated because we'd both entered, and he got injured, so he came and watched, and he tried to follow us around London Landmarks, and I really trained for that race, and I loved it, absolutely loved it. But he kept getting off the tube and he just missed us. So the video was him going, she's gone past, she's too fast. At the end of London Landmarks, I cried. I had it was happy tears, but I cried because I was just relieved it was over. But I got a big PB and I was over the moon. And I cried at the end of the Great North Run last year, because I wish I'd had a camera last year, because me and Chris had 2 very different races. He hated it and I loved it. Right. So I got a 4 mile and I was trying to get a Great North Run PB, because I got such a big PB at London. I was like, I can bring my Great North Run time down. And I got a 4 mile and I thought, this isn't on today, it's too hot. I'm gonna pass out at 6 mile if I keep running at this pace. So the decision was, do I keep going or do I just cut my losses now, slow it down a bit and have a great day? And that's what I did. So at the end, everyone was like, that was horrible. And I was like, oh my God, it was the best day. I was talking to people and waving at people. And then at about mile 11 or just 12, just before you come down the hill, there's this guy from our club called Kev who's like hilariously funny, and he just ran out in front of us and it was like, Kaylee! He was taking a photo of us, and that made us laugh, and it was just the best day. And he, at the end, he was like, is there something wrong with you? Like, how did you enjoy that? And I was like, it was brilliant. And I think I got like a 154, and my PB at the Great North Run's 152. So really, to come that close to me PB, and I was just messing around in that heat. I was like, I was over the moon until someone from club said to us, oh, that's not a very good time for you. And I was like, excuse me. It was like a friend though, but it was like, it was like, oh, and I was like, did you see how hot it was? Have you seen how Scandinavian my skin is? Like, give us a break. I'm blonde and I'm pale. Like, but yeah.
I don't know about you, but on the day as well, it took me an hour from the start gun, an hour to cross the start line, and there was no shelter on that motorway. So we were just baking for an hour, shuffling forward. So I felt like I was like ready to turn over and bake the other side by the time that we hit the start line.
27 degrees, on the start line.
It was ridiculous.
What you need to do, Scott, is you need to lie about your start time. That's the only way to get a good position.
Not that we're condoning that. But.
No. The first year we did it, before I was a club runner, we said true time. It's like what you were saying about your Manchester time and the difference between your Strava and what you clock chip-wise.
Yeah.
Like, because you weave so much if you're in the wrong place. Like, you may have run 13 mile, like, point to point, but you've probably ran 15 mile weaving around everyone. And I quickly learned that you have to say quicker than what you can do. So I always put, without a shadow of a doubt, 145 for the Great North Run. Now my PB is 146 from London, but 145 is always what I say, and that gets you quite near the front. But so you're not going off with like ridiculously fast people, but you're not stood in the sun.
Yeah, don't just make it time.
Yeah, don't say you can run a 130. But if you kind of bend the truth a little bit, I think you find that you're in a more comfortable position and you're not stood around waiting as long.
So I'm running in. Go on.
I was going to say, when you see next year Mo Farah, me and Kaylee on the start line for the elites, you know why.
You really lied.
Bend through slightly. I'm doing my PB now for the halves is 150. I've put 145 on the Berlin one. I'm doing the Berlin half in April. I've 145 on that, just so I'm about a third to the front.
Yeah, any big races, I think that's, if you can play it either way by 5 minutes, I think it makes such a difference to you.
Yeah.
I think Chris already answered the next question, Freddie, but we'll ask it anyway. So every guest we have on now, we're having a bit of a... The last guest gets to ask the new guest, without knowing who they are, a question. And Steve Cummins was our last guest, and he asked, what's your worst running experience and why? And I think you've just explained that, Chris, on yours. But I also want to go back to... There's a video you uploaded a little while ago, and I know your channel, you said it's lighthearted, but you guys genuinely got booed, didn't you, at a parkrun recently?
Do you know the truth about that booing?
Was it a relative off screen?
That booing is a special effect, believe it or not.
But
not the actual booing.
We were booed.
We did get booed.
Really?
Yeah,
and it did sound like that, but the camera didn't pick it all up.
I tell you what, good job, because that sounded like a real boo.
Yeah, I know.
We were at Druridge Bay. We weren't expecting it at all, but apparently it's their tradition that if someone's from Sunderland, they boo them.
Yeah.
So when we said Sunderland and they all went boo, we were like, we didn't get booed at Town Moor. Why are we getting booed here?
The thing was, you've been to parkrun before, so they go, "Oh, where's the tour? Who have we got today? From where?" Yeah. And you never would hear a boo, would you? But when they said Sunderland, and this isn't even in Newcastle, that's what I couldn't get my head around. So they said Sunderland, and everybody at parkrun went boo in time, didn't they? Like it was rehearsed. We were like, "What's going on here?" But we knew it was a joke. And going back to what you said, Freddie, at the beginning about thumbnails, and I thought, we'll call it the parkrun we got booed at because people will wonder why. And I think that's like the second or third highest viewed video on the channel because everyone's like, why are we being booed? The problem with it is they only watch the first 30 seconds.
Because we get booed.
And just spin it off. But
do you know that I learned that with my channel is there's 2 words that I use, and if I use them in the title, it without doubt normally helps the views, and that's either obese or overweight. I chuck them in there, it changes it all. Yeah.
Going back to the question,
go on.
sorry, I was just going to say my worst race is also on the channel, but we did the Jelly Tea 10 miler last year. And I don't know whether you did a race in the same place recently, Freddie, but it was at Albemarle Barracks. Did you do it?
I did one at the airfield. I don't know what it's called, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, so basically the Jelly Tea 10 miler, for those that don't know, is a club organised race. I can't remember who organises it, but anyone can enter. You don't have to be part of a club. It's one of the smaller races, and I'd never done the traditional route, but the traditional route used to go, I want to say like Ulverston or somewhere, kind of somewhere other side of Newcastle, and it used to be a road closure route. So apparently it was a really lovely route. You did 2 laps. It was a bit hilly. Then we had it on our club championship list last year, so loads of the strollers went. They changed it to Albemarle Barracks because they couldn't get the road closures. So it was basically 2 laps of this airfield, this 10-mile race. It was the hottest day. Yeah. It was windy. And
it's horrible.
It was awful. Horrible. And I mean, like, it looks like the apocalypse. Like, it's this disused airfield where there's grass just growing everywhere. And, like, they've got chalk circles around potholes so you don't, like, fall down and break your ankle. And they've got marshals, like, directing you all across, and you're running past tanks and all sorts. Well, we'd done a relay there before, and that was only 2 mile, and that was like torture. So we're like, oh, it'll be fine. Good practice for the Great North Run. It was like 3 weeks out from the Great North Run. And then at the end, you get a nice sandwich and a cup of tea and some jelly. Honestly, after 5 mile, with the first lap, and you run over the finish line to do the second 5 mile, which made it even worse. I was like, I am done. This is the worst day. And I had music in, and I'd gone back to the 90s. I had all the boy bands in. I thought, I'm going to love this. I'm going to run round. I'm going to listen to 911 and Blue and pretend I'm 15 again. Honestly, all the boy bands in the world could not have dragged me out of the wall through that race. I was like, this is horrific. I was walking at the end. I just was like, if I can jog a bit, walk a bit. And there was other people around us doing the same thing. And I honestly crossed the line. And every person that crossed that line was like, the worst race I've ever done. And then the worst bit was, the jelly was full of flies and grass and everything by the time you got there. Warm. The sandwiches were minging. The cup of tea. Me, Chris, and Rachel went to the Metro Centre on the way home, and the 3 of us were just sat in Costa like this, just dead, each other, trying to eat and drink and just try and like process what we'd just gone through. But talk about hitting the wall, I hit it bad that day.
I had a comment on that video that might have explained why it's such a, because I'll be honest, I thought it was a pretty shit course, the one around that airfield, and someone explained it to me why it might be, and it actually could make a bit of sense. They're saying when you go for a normal run, wherever it is, you're normally near trees or walls or hedge lines or whatever it is, there's always something that's whizzing past you.
Yeah.
Everywhere you go. On that airfield, everything's miles away from you.
Yeah.
And you lose all sense of speed.
Yeah.
Because it's just nothing there. I hated it.
Yeah, sight lines and everything. It's just, this year, well, when they were choosing the races, I was in the committee meeting going, please do not put that race back on the championship. Like, I could not do that again. And they changed them every year, but like it must have got so many bad reviews. It was just horrific.
Chris, if I remember rightly, is this the one, when I briefly met you guys, you told me about one of the races, and I think this might be it. Did you nearly get disqualified because of the camera or something?
Yeah.
That's the one, isn't it? Yeah.
That's the only race that's ever happened to me. And we better not put this now, I can put it out. But yeah, when I crossed the line, I had the camera, and one of the officials came and told me that I was going to be disqualified for filming the route. And I said, sorry, I'm going to get disqualified for having a timing device. That's what he said. Right. And I said, a timing device? No, this is just a camera. And he goes, yeah, they're banned under UK athletics rules or whatever because they're timing devices. I said, well, I don't know if you know, but everybody's wearing a watch, which is a timing device. But apparently, so then he said, well, if I see you doing it again, then we'll have to disqualify you. Now you know, that sort of thing. And then another marshal came over to me and went, were you filming that run? I said, not all of it, just bits of it. And he was like, it's just if you're filming all of it, if you could have sent us it, we could. But apparently, and I said to him, well, he just told me you get disqualified because it's a timing device, it's a camera. And he said, well, apparently it's because if I'd put the footage out of the full route like twice, then people could watch it and get an unfair advantage by understanding the course. And I'm like,
Insert boo.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 Get out of
Strange, isn't it?
I've got one more question that I want to ask, and I'm determined to not let us go down a rabbit warren here. I know that we mention this pretty much every podcast, and it does send us on somewhere. What is the price limit on a pair of shoes?
Oh wow! I think you've come to two people that have had a trainer addiction.
How can you finance yours though? Because the price limit of yours is your favourite pair of trainers.
Yeah, that's the most I think I've ever paid. So quickly, super shoes are expensive, and I've only ever had two pairs, I think, of super shoes, Vaporflies, which I think I've got in. Did you buy
I
them?
bought you them
Better
for
check
Christmas.
that. Oh,
Yeah, I
yeah,
bought
yeah,
you
you
them
got
for
them.
Christmas.
Get it right, Chris.
I stop myself then. And then the other pairs, the Adios Pro 3s.
You've
which
also got RC Elites.
Oh, yeah, I've got them as well. And the Adios Pro 3s are my favourite super shoe now over the Vaporfly, the Adidas ones. And I think I would only get them now at discount because you can always get them discounted at sports shoes or Start Fitness or whatever. And you can normally find a code from somewhere that you can put in. So I reckon you can always get a decent pair of super shoes for under 150 if you don't go, oh, I need them now, and you just wait until there's a sale on or something like that. So I've probably paid up to 150, I would say.
Yeah.
But then what I've done is consistently bought as many pairs of trainers as possible, which I've realised is in the hunt for what they call the daily trainer that I feel like, wow, this is the daily trainer that I can wear for anything.
Yep.
And I think what's happened is I buy a pair hoping it's that, and then it's not quite that. So then I buy another pair, it's not quite that, and it keeps going. And I think I was in the hunt for like, where is this perfect trainer that I can buy that will do everything well? And now I've stumbled across it, and because the reviews on it is 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10 from everyone, and the only problem is the price tag. And I brought myself to buy them, and they're the Asics Super Blast, which, by the way, is apparently rare to get your hands on them. So we went to Asics in Oxford Street, and they didn't have my size. They didn't have my size online. It was like, where can you get these magic trainers?
Got them at like Asics somewhere really random in London, didn't we? Yeah, we were in a shopping centre and they actually had them in his size. Yeah,
so they're hard to get hold of for whatever reason. And I paid 195 quid for these daily trainers, right?
Ouch.
But they're incredible. And now I've realised I'm not going to buy any others. I'm just going to keep buying these. And I think I've already done... I haven't had them that long, and I've done 200 miles in them, something already, and they look fine. So I think they're going to last a decent amount of time. But long runs, very comfortable, like soft but responsive. Like you can run fast in them. And if you watch any reviews on Asics Super Blast, everybody will tell you the same thing. That the run real, it's just the price, which is the problem. And because you can't get hold of them, I don't think they discount them. So you've either got to bite the bullet or not get them.
Supply and demand, isn't it?
Yeah, I feel the same way about my Boston 12s. I feel like I found the right shoe for me, in the Boston 12. But I'm sure when they're 13 or 14, whatever comes out next, I'll give that a try. But 150 is where I set my self-imposed limit. That's enough for me.
Kelly?
Which is still mental for non-runners going, you've spent £150.
Right. Yeah.
And you've already got 3 pairs. Now I've got 12 pairs.
Mine is, it's not £200 because I don't own a pair of Super Blasts. So I just can't bring myself to spend £200 on a pair of trainers. So I'm still in search for, I think, the perfect one. I got the Nova Blasts, and I think they're like 130. But the only issue with them is I got the 4s, which are the new Asics Nova Blasts. Yeah. And I think, they were about 130 or 135, so not too bad really, but they weren't quite what I wanted. They're a bit heavy when you start picking the pace up. So they're a good daily trainer if you're just doing a long run or you're doing like easy miles, but they're not really if you want to put any pace through them. So I think I'd be kind of round about what you said, Freddie, probably 150. I'm the same as Chris. I'll look for a discount really. My Vaporflies, got the Vaporfly ones, I bought them because I had COVID and I wanted a treat for when I was fixed, so I could get one of them. And they were in the sale, and I think I paid like 130 for them, and I've still got them, but I've since gone off them because they gave us a sprained toe. And I got RC Elites, New Balance RC Elites instead from the New Balance shop, which I know you talked about on, I think, one of the last podcasts.
Yeah.
And they weren't that expensive, but I absolutely love them, and I train in them now because Chris got me Adios Pros on my birthday. I keep them for races now, but I love my RC Elites, and I don't train in carbon plates all the time, but if you're doing like anything where you like interval stuff, sometimes I'll wear them. But between us, we could open a trainer shop. Like my dad has a great. My dad sometimes comes through and like checks our dog if we're out at work, and he always goes, "How have you got that many pairs of trainers?" My mum and dad have really took a war up against this. Like, you can't be buying more trainers. Like, what do you need trainers for? And like, do you non-runners? You just don't understand.
Exactly right.
Birthdays in your house sound amazing, by the way. GoPros, watches, trainers. It's just a complete YouTube package to vlog anything.
The thing is, like, we've got no children for a start, and like, we're not really big on buying for each other throughout the year. We kind of make up for it. Like, we'd rather like go out for a meal, or like we'll kind of go and do a park run and have a nice breakfast somewhere. Then birthdays and stuff, like, generally the good thing about you both running is you always know what's around and what the other person wants. So the only issue is, like Chris said earlier, like one of us will buy something for the other one, and then it's like, oh well, you need one now because it's so good. So it happened with like the Aftershocks earphones. I bought them for him, then he bought some for me, and like just different things. Like
me and Freddie, I bought them and loved them.
I got a pair. Yeah.
Well, the shocks now, aren't they? But they were Aftershocks. We've had ours for years, but they're still great.
Class, aren't they?
Pressure I'm under though, you know, for Kaylee's birthday, because her birthday is Christmas Day.
Oh
no! So if you imagine, you've got to buy enough presents that is clearly Christmas plus birthday, not short-changing anyone.
I'll just caveat. He thinks this, like, I'm not sitting here like a diva going, you must buy me. Like, I honestly, like, don't mind. And he always, he's always really generous. Like, and if he only bought us half, I'd still think they were amazing. Like, But right. keep that in mind. Just one pair of trainers this year instead of two.
Love it.
So before we wrap up, Freddie,
do you
want to continue the theme, and can we ask you guys to think of something to ask the next guest? We've got an inkling as to who that is, but we won't tell you. What would you like to ask them, and we'll put it to them?
It's a tough
no
one.
Pressure.
It's hard. Do you know what I think we need to start telling people beforehand that we're going to ask this question to give them time to think? Yeah, but we're going to put you on the pressure, and come on, give us one.
Did you have one before? I thought said you'd thought of one.
No, let's just make something up quick. What nutrition are they? Do you think there would be a nutrition type of runner, Scott? Of anyone who takes gels?
Yes.
So what nutrition works for them running wise, and have they had any disasters with what they've taken?
Okay. Once we wrap up, I'll let you know who we're proposing to come on, and that will make sense to that question as we go on, actually.
Yeah. And for anyone that's listening and wants to follow you guys, let them know how they can do that.
So we are Those Two Runners everywhere. So not everywhere, but we are Those Two Runners. So you can find us on YouTube, Those Two Runners. We're on Facebook, Instagram. We've also got a TikTok where we upload the odd short, but we were kind of big. I guess Facebook's the one probably we're most active on with the community and stuff. So try with Instagram and stuff as well. Facebook and Instagram are the two where we update the most. And videos usually out every Tuesday.
Yep. Brilliant. Well, listen, it's been really, really nice meeting you guys and getting to know you a little bit. And I'm really hopeful that in the not too distant future we'll get to see each other at an event or a park run or something. We'll reach out afterwards and maybe arrange something. And all four of us can go for a run somewhere. That'd be great fun.
Yeah, that'd be good. Really good.
Thanks for having us on as well. It's been great.
Not at all. And we'll do this again. We say this. Yeah, we'll do it again, and maybe we'll even video something when we go for a run together. Who knows?
Yeah.
That'd be great fun. But no, thank you both very much
Yeah.
for coming on. It's been really good fun.
Enjoyed that.
And yeah, and anyone that's listening, listen. This is number six. Number six. So one more podcast, and that means we've officially got a podcast.
Wow.
They say you get to 7 and then you're on your way. So we've got one more to go, mate, and then we are official.
We're off the
So
ground.
thanks again for sticking around and for listening and for watching, and we'll catch up with you all soon. Cheers.
Thank you.
Cheers.